You don't usually notice it while it's happening. Life doesn't announce itself when it changes direction. There's no warning sound, no clear moment where everything feels different. Most days feel normal, ordinary, repetitive. You wake up, do what needs to be done, and tell yourself you'll think about bigger things later. But one day, without realizing when it started, you look around and feel unfamiliar inside your own life. Not because something went wrong, but because something quietly happened. And it's been happening for a long time. The life you're building without realizing it. At first, everything feels reasonable. The days move in a way that makes sense. Wake up, get through what needs to be done. Rest when you can. Repeat. Nothing feels wasted. Nothing feels especially meaningful either, but that seems normal. Everyone is tired. Everyone is busy. Everyone is waiting for the right moment to focus on bigger things. So you don't question it. You tell yourself this is just how life works. You handle what's in front of you. You deal with what's urgent. You promise yourself that someday, when things slow down, you'll be more intentional. Someday becomes a comfortable word. It carries no deadline, no pressure. It sounds responsible, mature, like you're being patient instead of avoidant. Weeks pass without much difference between them. You begin to recognize the rhythm of your own life. The same times you feel tired, the same times you reach for distractions, the same small decisions that help the day go by faster. None of them feel dangerous. In fact, they feel harmless. Skipping reflection because you're exhausted, saying yes automatically, filling silence with noise, choosing what's easy instead of what's meaningful, but telling yourself you've earned it. You don't feel like you're building anything in particular. You're just living, but life is always building something, whether you're paying attention or not. There's a quiet comfort in routines that don't challenge you. They remove the need to decide. They protect you from uncertainty. They help the hours pass without friction. Over time, those routines harden into patterns. Patterns of thinking, patterns of reacting, patterns of avoiding. You stop noticing how often you say later. Later for learning, later for changing, later for thinking deeply about where all this is going. Later becomes a way of postponing discomfort without admitting it. Nothing feels wrong enough to demand change, and that's the most dangerous part. There's a version of exhaustion that doesn't come from working too hard, but from drifting too long without direction. You start to feel it in small ways. A vague restlessness, a sense that days are full but somehow empty. You scroll more, not because you're curious, but because you're trying to disappear for a moment. You stay busy, not because everything matters, but because stillness feels uncomfortable. Stillness asks questions, and questions threaten the structure you've built to survive the day. So you keep moving. Time does something subtle when you aren't watching it closely. It blends, it smooths over distinctions. A month feels like a week, a year feels like a season. You mark time by events instead of growth. Nothing dramatic happens. There's no collapse, no crisis, just accumulation. Small decisions stacking quietly, small compromises repeating, small comforts becoming requirements. You start choosing familiarity over possibility, predictability over progress. You tell yourself it's stability, but deep down you know it's fear wearing a practical mask. Fear of starting over. Fear of being bad at something again. Fear of realizing you waited too long, so you adjust expectations instead. You don't aim lower on purpose. You just stop aiming altogether. You focus on maintenance, on getting through, on managing energy rather than expanding capacity. You become very good at surviving your own life. Years pass like this, not wasted, not tragic, just unexamined. Then one day something interrupts the rhythm, not in a loud way, in a quiet, unsettling way. You notice a version of yourself you don't fully recognize. Maybe it's in a reflection, or a conversation, or a moment of unexpected honesty. You realize you react faster than you think, that your patience is thinner, that your curiosity feels duller than it used to. You wonder when that happened. You look at your days and realize they're designed for convenience, not intention. They make things easy, but not meaningful, comfortable, but not fulfilling. You didn't choose this life all at once. You assembled it slowly. And that realization lands heavier than regret. Because regret implies a mistake. This feels more like neglect. You weren't reckless. You weren't lazy. You weren't irresponsible. You were just absent. Present for tasks. Absent for direction. You see now how the life you're living reflects the questions you stopped asking. What am I becoming? What am I reinforcing? What kind of future feels inevitable if I keep choosing this way? The answers aren't dramatic. They're obvious. And that's what makes them uncomfortable. You realize that motivation was never the missing piece. Awareness was. You were moving every day, but without checking the compass. You trusted that effort alone would take you somewhere worthwhile. But effort without intention only guarantees movement, not meaning. The strange thing is, nothing external needs to change for everything internal to shift. The same life can feel different the moment you start noticing it. The same routines feel heavier once you see where they lead. You understand now that identity isn't something you declare. It's something you rehearse. Every ignored instinct, every postponed decision, every time you choose distraction over presence. Those moments didn't disappear. They voted. And the vote count is starting to show. There's no panic in this realization, no urgency to fix everything overnight, just a calm clarity that feels both sobering and strangely relieving. Because for the first time in a long while, you're not just reacting to life, you're observing it. You see how even neutral days are directional, how even passive choices are still choices, how doing nothing isn't standing still, it's drifting. And drifting always has a destination. You don't need a new life to change direction. You need awareness inside the one you're already living. Awareness of where your time goes when you're tired. Awareness of what you avoid when things get quiet. Awareness of what you choose when no one is watching. This isn't about control, it's about honesty. About admitting that the life you're building is shaped less by your dreams and more by your defaults. And defaults can be redesigned. Not all at once, not dramatically, but consciously. You understand now that the future isn't something that arrives, it's something that accumulates. Slowly, patiently, indifferently. It doesn't care about intentions, only patterns. And for the first time, instead of waiting for someday, you feel present in today. Not pressured, not inspired, just aware. Because once you see the life you're building, you can't unsee it. And that awareness alone begins to change the direction. Quietly, naturally, without announcement. Just like everything else that truly matters.
In my opinion, when we know exactly what we need to do, but choose not to do it, we are choosing comfort. This is dangerous, because if you don't act now for your future, it may become too late. One day, you may be married and have a son or a daughter. If you realize your mistakes at that moment, you might not have time to change. You will need to work, your family will need support, and you may find yourself stuck in a 9-to-5 job with responsibilities you can't walk away from. That's why choosing comfort today can cost you freedom tomorrow. What do you think? Share your thoughts.